It finally happened. Harley Davidson just broke its own code. After decades of chrome, weight, and high price tags, they've dropped a bomb, a $6,000 Harley. Riders are split, dealers are sweating, and the internet's roaring louder than open pipes on Main Street. But what does that really mean for riders like us? Did Harley just save its future or trade in its soul? Stick around, because what's rolling out of Milwaukee next might change everything. The $6,000 shock. After years of rumors, leaks, and corporate half-promises, Harley Davidson has gone and done the unthinkable. A brand new motorcycle priced under $6,000. Not a leftover clearance special, not a rebadged import, but a legitimate Harley model, ready to hit the market. The name? Sprint. And just like that, one of the most guarded secrets in the industry became real. The news hit during Harley's latest investor call when CEO Jochen Zeitz casually dropped the bomb. An all-new entry-level model, under $6,000, with the Harley badge on its tank. It was more than an announcement. It was a declaration that the company is done waiting for younger riders to come around. It's going to meet them halfway. For a brand known for chrome, weight, and legacy, this is a complete reversal of tradition. The Sprint could be the bike that resets everything. A bridge for a new generation and a lifeline for dealerships watching their showrooms age along with their customers. The shock isn't just in the price, it's in what that price represents. Harley is finally acknowledging what riders have been saying for years. The next generation can't buy into a culture they can't afford. With the Sprint, the gate to Harley's kingdom just opened wide. But this wasn't just another press drop, it was a signal. The Sprint returns, reborn from the ashes. The name Sprint carries weight. For riders who remember the 1960s, it's more than nostalgia, it's heritage. Back then, the original Sprint was Harley's lightweight rebel, built through a partnership with Italy's Ermacchi. It was small, quick, and affordable, meant to get new riders into the family. It worked for a while, until bigger engines and American bravado took over. Then, the Sprint faded into memory, a forgotten experiment in accessibility. Now, 60 years later, Harley has pulled that name out of history and stamped it on a bike built for a new era. But this isn't the old Ermacchi two-stroke, with a puff of smoke and a kickstart. This Sprint is modern, about 350 cubic centimeters, tuned for torque, and designed to fight in the same weight class as the Royal Enfield Classic 350 and the Honda Rebel 300. The difference? This one wears the bar and shield. Harley says this project has been in motion since 2021. 4 years of design and cost engineering aimed at a single goal: to build a true Harley for under $6,000 without turning it into a throwaway import. If they've pulled it off, it could be the company's most important launch since the original Sportster. The reborn Sprint promises more than mobility. It promises belonging. Built to welcome new riders and give veterans a smaller, spirited option. It's not just a release, but a resurrection, bridging Harley's rebellious past with its uncertain, defiant future. Yet this revival hides a modern twist no one saw coming. If you're into real rider talk and want the truth behind what's shaping our roads, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and share your thoughts below. Your voice keeps this community real and alive, breaking the Harley code. For decades, Harley lived by an unwritten rule: never cheapen the badge. The motor company built its empire on pride, not price. Every bike was a statement, heavy, loud, and expensive enough to make ownership feel like a rite of passage. You didn't just buy a Harley, you earned one. The $6,000 Sprint breaks that code wide open. Inside corporate circles, this move is nothing short of revolutionary. It flips Harley's long-standing strategy on its head. Since the 1980s, the brand has leaned hard on premium positioning, big margins, boutique showrooms, limited editions. The Sprint challenges all that. It invites first-time riders and working-class enthusiasts back through the door that had quietly closed on them. Older riders see risk cheap once meant weak margins and weaker soul. As the Street 500 proved, the Sprint must fix that legacy, offering affordability without surrendering identity. Beneath it brews rebellion, a return to motorcycles over marketing, freedom over financing. A $6,000 Harley feels like a reset, but one misstep could split loyalists and newcomers alike. Harley now rides a razor's edge between its storied past and uncertain future. Real riders know it's not just the bike, it's the gear that keeps you rolling. Check the links below for the stuff that actually lasts. So why risk a crown built on chrome, the CEO's promise? During the company's second quarter earnings call, Harley's CEO, Jochen Seitz, confirmed the rumors himself. Calm voice, steady tone. Under $6,000, he said, and profitable. Two words that, in Harley's history, rarely sat in the same sentence. For 30 years, the company's entry-level models, the Sportster, the Street Series, were loss leaders. They brought riders in, but lost money with every sale. Seitz claims that this time, things are different. The company insists the Sprint will make a profit, even at that low price, a promise built on new global partnerships and smarter production. Insiders say Harley's been working on this since 2021, drawing lessons from joint ventures in Asia and Europe. The new Sprint is expected to borrow from those designs. Modern engine, simplified frame, and efficient manufacturing. Dealers left the call. Divided, some thrilled at a gateway bike, others uneasy about a $6,000 Harley beside $30,000 Tourers. Seitz spoke like a man wagering his legacy, calling the Sprint a test of identity as much as profit. For veteran riders, hope mixes with dread. Harley's reinvented itself before, but never like this. The Sprint could spark rebirth, or mark the moment the brand gambled its soul on survival. But making it work on paper is one thing. Building it is another. Blueprint of an affordable legend. Harley Davidson says the new Sprint has been in quiet development since 2021. That's 4 years of testing, prototyping, and financial modeling for a bike that's supposed to do what no Harley has done in decades: offer real affordability without losing its soul. Engineers were told to design a machine light enough for beginners, tough enough for commuters, and strong enough to wear the Harley badge. That meant walking a fine line between tradition and necessity. Inside Harley's engineering offices, the mission was clear: build a motorcycle that costs less than $6,000 to the customer while staying profitable for the company. To hit that goal, every nut, bolt, and component was reviewed. The design team studied what worked in smaller overseas markets, bikes that sell by the hundreds of thousands in Asia and Europe, and what still appeals to American riders who value comfort, torque, and simplicity. The Sprint would not be a luxury tourer. It would be a stripped, honest machine, closer to the spirit of the 1960s models that first carried that name. Built around a 350 cubic centimeter engine co-developed overseas, the Sprint keeps Harley's steel tube silhouette, but trims chrome, tech, and cost to hit $6,000. Lighter materials and modular parts simplify production, though some sole risks thinning. It's aimed at commuters, not cruisers built to start movement, not win showrooms. Yet one question hangs over Milwaukee. Can a Harley, built to a price, still deliver that unmistakable heartbeat? But cutting cost always means cutting somewhere. Price tag, reality check. Harley's announcement of a sub-$6,000 motorcycle sounded bold until riders started doing the math. The sticker price rarely matches the real cost once the paperwork lands on the dealer's desk. Between destination fees, setup charges, and state taxes, most buyers expect to pay closer to $6,500 or even $7,000 out the door. That's still cheaper than any new Harley in years, but it's not the magic number that headlines suggest. Dealers say they're still waiting for final margins, but if the price structure mirrors Harley's previous entry models, the profit window will be razor thin. Each bike might earn a dealership only a few $100s. That puts pressure on service departments and parts counters to make up the difference through accessories, apparel, and long-term maintenance. The Sprint could bring foot traffic, but it won't fill cash drawers overnight. At $6,000, riders weigh a new Sprint against a 20-year-old Dyna or Softail warranty and 0 miles versus raw muscle and nostalgia. Harley targets practicality over prestige, offering reliability under a trusted badge. If the Sprint proves dependable and affordable to maintain, it could hold resale and rebuild trust. But one tariff, one cost hike, and that price breaks. And with it, Harley's credibility promised to riders everywhere. And that's before the accountants weigh in: the profit equation. Harley's executives have admitted something few expected to hear out loud. Their smaller bikes of the past weren't profitable. The Street 500 and Street 750 cost nearly as much to build as the bigger Sportsters, but sold for thousands less. That meant thin margins, long assembly times, and leftover inventory. When those models were discontinued, most dealers didn't mourn them. They couldn't move them fast enough. The Sprint's financial plan tries to fix that broken formula. Instead of forcing US plants to handle every unit, Harley is relying on global supply lines and lighter materials. By reducing part counts, using simpler welding, and outsourcing select components, they aim to save hundreds per unit before the bike even reaches the crate. Those savings, combined with streamlined marketing and shared parts between international models, could finally make a small Harley profitable for the first time in 30 years. History haunts Harley's low-cost attempts. The 1960s Sprint, the Street Series, the Buell singles all faded when identity slipped. Cheap bikes couldn't deliver belonging. This time, Harley vows the new Sprint will keep the rumble, the idol, the soul, even as costs tighten. Zeitz admits passion alone won't balance the books. For Harley's survival, emotion must meet precision heritage, powered not just by pride, but by math that finally adds up. Yet the math only works if the factory math does. The global build. Harley hasn't officially said where the Sprint will be built, but clues point toward a global partnership. Industry reports suggest the small displacement engine may be produced through Harley's existing collaboration with Hero MotoCorp, one of the largest manufacturers in India. Final assembly could happen in Thailand, where Harley already runs facilities to serve international markets. This isn't new for the company, but it's still controversial. To traditionalists, outsourcing production feels like a betrayal of the Made in America stamp. Yet, for a $6,000 motorcycle to exist at all, international assembly is almost unavoidable. US labor costs, material prices, and tariff fees would make that target impossible otherwise. The trick is balance, ensuring the bike meets Harley's quality expectations, even if it's bolted together far from Milwaukee. Harley insists the Sprint isn't retreat, but evolution engineered under US supervision, built globally, just like modern automakers. It's the only path to affordability without sacrificing reliability. Yet tariffs loom, with $13 million lost last quarter and more risk ahead. Politics now shape profits. Some riders bristle at foreign assembly, but others welcome any Harley that brings the bar and shield back, within reach of real working riders. And what does "Made for America" mean when it's built abroad? Dealers in the crossfire. Across the country, Harley Davidson dealerships are caught between two opposing forces: the pressure from the top to embrace the new Sprint, and the hard math on the showroom floor. For some, it's a breath of fresh air. For others, it's a storm brewing under the roof. Dealers who've weathered decades of changing models, recalls, and corporate shifts know what a low-margin bike really means. A motorcycle priced under $6,000 doesn't leave much room for profit. By the time shipping, setup, and advertising costs are counted, the numbers barely add up. Yet, despite that reality, many dealers are cautiously optimistic. They see the Sprint as something they haven't had in years, a gateway product, a bike that could pull younger riders or budget-conscious veterans through the doors again. Foot traffic, they say, might be worth more than margin. A Midwest dealer said it best: if the Sprint brings a 25-year-old through the door, that's future business. Across America, dealers crave movement, not nostalgia. Yet fear lingers. Showrooms already overflow with unsold models. And a $6,000 bike beside $30,000 Tourers feels risky. They're walking a tightrope, balancing Harley's vision with decades of earned prestige. This time, the stakes and the scrutiny are higher than ever. But the louder reaction came from the parking lot, not the boardroom, old iron versus new blood. In the parking lots and online forums, the divide is sharp enough to hear in the exhaust notes. The old guard, riders who've logged hundreds of thousands of miles on big twins, look at the Sprint with suspicion. To them, Harley's identity has always been forged in displacement and thunder. They remember the first time they twisted the throttle on a Road King or a Softail and felt that unmistakable torque. To them, a 350 cubic centimeter Harley sounds like a toy, not a legend. They see the Sprint as a risk to the image they spent their lives building. It's not arrogance, it's pride. These are riders who rode through rain, snow, and gas shortages to keep the culture alive. They remember when owning a Harley meant commitment, when every breakdown was fixed with a wrench and grit. Watching the brand pivot toward affordability feels, to some, like seeing a family heirloom pawned off for quick cash. Younger riders and older enthusiasts seeking lighter bikes see the Sprint not as an insult but an invitation away to join the culture without debt. The clash spans social media and garages alike. One rider says it's not a real Harley, another says, finally one I can afford. Both care for the same reason they love the badge. The Sprint forces Harley to face an old question. Who defines authenticity now? Still, someone needed this bike more than the old guard. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming next in the world of American motorcycles, make sure you're subscribed. Every week we dig into the stories the big brands don't want riders like you hearing first. The Rival Roundup. The Sprint's biggest challenge doesn't come from within Harley's walls. It comes from competitors who've already mastered the small displacement market. The Royal Enfield Classic 350 and the Honda Rebel series are the most direct rivals, and they've earned their reputation the hard way by proving reliable, affordable, and fun to ride. Royal Enfield has built an empire out of retro simplicity. Its bikes look like old-school standards, but they're backed by decades of refinement and global production efficiency. In the United States, the Classic 350 sells for around $4,700, thousands less than most Harleys. Its success shows that American riders will buy small bikes if they feel authentic and dependable. The question is whether Harley can deliver both without cutting corners. Honda's Rebel 300 and 500 rule the beginner market with reliability, smooth handling, and dealers everywhere. They lack Harley's prestige, but win on practicality. The Sprint enters late, armed with heritage and heart, a small Harley carrying big twin DNA. If it rides well and holds together, Harley could reclaim lost ground. But if quality slips or parts lag, rivals will pounce. The market doesn't forgive nostalgia. It rewards the machine that starts every morning and keeps the promise alive. And Harley's next opponent might not wear chrome at all. The rider's decision. At the end of the day, the Sprint's success won't be decided by executives or investors. It'll be decided in garages, driveways, and small-town main streets by riders choosing whether this bike earns a place next to their current machines. For some, the answer will come down to pride. For others, practicality. If the Sprint delivers reliable miles and manageable upkeep, it could become the new commuter king for Middle America, a second bike for seasoned riders, and a first love for new ones. The cost of ownership will matter as much as the purchase price. A bike that sips fuel, runs cheap insurance, and uses easily available parts could make all the difference for those who ride daily. Riders now question loyalty itself. Does owning a smaller, cheaper Harley still make you part of the family? True Harley spirit was never about engine size, but the bond between rider and machine. The Sprint could spark a shift where affordability no longer means inferiority, bringing a new generation into the fold. Yet, if it feels hollow, it risks eroding decades of trust. Beyond profit, the Sprint asks who Harley truly is and who it dares to become next. Because the next question isn't about money, it's about identity. Harley's long game. The Sprint isn't just another model drop. It's a chess move in Harley Davidson's long game, stretching toward 2030. The company's roadmap shows a shift that would have been unthinkable 20 years ago. Smaller displacement motorcycles, electric options under the Livewire brand, and deeper partnerships across Asia and Europe. The Sprint sits at the intersection of all of it, a bridge between Harley's past and the future it's trying to survive in. The broader plan is clear. Harley doesn't just want to sell heavy cruisers anymore. It wants to own every stage of a rider's life, from the first affordable machine to the grand touring bike that defines retirement. The Sprint acts as the entry point, the beginning of a funnel that leads into mid-range and premium models over time. It's not about the single sale, it's about lifetime retention. Harley's leaders studied Honda and BMW, learning that loyalty comes from progression, a rebel to a Goldwing, a path within one family. The Sprint is meant to be Harley's handshake to a new generation, built on survival, not luxury. Touring sales have stalled, younger buyers lack space and income, and the brand's future rests on accessibility. But even the sharpest strategy means nothing without craftsmanship. Harley's legacy still depends on the belief and precision of every hand on the line. But strategy only matters if the hands building it still believe steel, jobs, and tariffs. When Harley's quarterly report revealed a $13 million tariff hit, it was more than a footnote. It was a warning. Building globally might keep prices down, but it also ties the company's fate to international politics. Every trade shift, every port delay, every policy debate ripples straight back to Milwaukee. The Sprint's affordability depends on stability, and stability is a rare commodity in modern manufacturing. For decades, Made in America was Harley's battle cry. The brand stood as a symbol of American labor and grit. But in the 2020s, the economics changed. To sell a $6,000 motorcycle, Harley must source parts and labor from around the world. That means more work in Thailand or India and fewer assembly hours in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. It's a reality that hurts the same people who built the company's legend. Unions watch closely as Harley shifts smaller projects like the Sprint overseas, dividing workers between seeing progress or slow erosion of American craftsmanship. Politicians debate whether to protect domestic production or accept global competition as inevitable. Harley stands between patriotism and practicality. A US-built Sprint can't meet the $6,000 goal, and a foreign-built one risks pride. This tension defines Harley today. Every bolt on the Sprint is a quiet compromise between the nation's identity and the economics of survival, and that fight stretches far beyond Milwaukee. The next generation ride. The most powerful ripple of the Sprint may not be in the factories or boardrooms, but in the training lots and small-town dealerships where new riders are born. For years, motorcycle licensing numbers in the United States have declined. Younger generations simply weren't entering the culture fast enough to replace those aging out of it. Harley's leadership knows that without new blood, no amount of chrome can save the industry. The Sprint changes that equation. A light, affordable, approachable Harley means riding schools can use the brand name again without scaring off students. Financing options, lower insurance rates, and lightweight handling could bring back an entire demographic that had written off Harley as too expensive or intimidating. The company's goal is simple: rebuild the pipeline. Dealerships nationwide are preparing beginner events for the Sprint's debut safety courses, first ride weekends, and financing made for newcomers. It's more than selling motorcycles, it's selling belonging. If Harley reclaims young riders, others like Yamaha and Triumph will follow, redefining how America learns to ride. Should the Sprint prove durable and rewarding, its cultural impact could eclipse short-term profits. Harley is betting that legacy isn't trapped in history. It's reborn each time a new rider grips the bars beneath that timeless script. Because heritage doesn't disappear, it adapts. The sole question. Now, after all the analysis, all the forecasts, all the talk of price points and production plans, one question still hums beneath it all. What makes a Harley a Harley? Is it the sound, the weight, the power, or is it something less tangible, the feeling you get when the road opens up and the machine becomes an extension of yourself? The Sprint forces that question back into the light. For some, the very idea of a budget, Harley feels like sacrilege. A $6,000 machine can't possibly carry the spirit of a brand built on iron, chrome, and rebellion. Yet for others, it's proof that the flame still burns, that Harley hasn't forgotten why it mattered in the first place. The Sprint may not thunder down the highway like an electric glide, but it keeps the conversation alive. It keeps new riders dreaming. Harley's story has always been a tug-of-war between pride and progress. Every era panhead, evolution, V-Rod, Livewire sparked outrage before acceptance, and the Sprint will likely follow that path. Economically, it's a gamble. Culturally, it's a mirror reflecting both Harley's direction and ours as riders. It asks if legacy must equal luxury or if freedom should return to everyone. When the first Sprint rolls out, some will sneer, others will smile, but all will listen. Beneath its lighter frame still beats a Harley soul, and once again, the industry holds its breath as the spirit fights to stay alive. So that's where we stand. Harley's gone cheap, and the old guard's split. Maybe it's smart business. Maybe it's the start of the end. But one thing's for sure. The fight for Harley's soul just hit top gear. Sound off below. Is the Sprint the future, or just another badge without a heartbeat? I read every comment, so tell me your miles, your machine, and your take. And if you want the truth without the fluff, hit like, subscribe, and keep it tuned right here, where real writers still speak their minds.